it play and call it work.
Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to this review of Wrath and Glory, Warhammer 40k role-playing game. We just finished our Wrath and Glory campaign, so there may unintentionally be some spoilers in this, but we're going to try to keep this spoiler-free for anybody who's watching this separate from the campaign. So we got all our cast and crew from this campaign, and we wanted to talk about it. I want to kind of talk about it in a couple ways, and we are running properly now, right, Colin? Everything's good? Before we really get into this?
I don't see him.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, he's clicking.
Oh, he's giving us the hard
thumbs
thumb.
up. All right. We're doing this live as well as the recording.
Yeah, we're back. Okay.
Okay. So we're actually doing this live, so we're going to interact with the audience as well. But I want to kind of do a general review, but I also want to compare it. I've seen some questions that people have asked. More than one person has asked, how does it compare to Dark Heresy?
Ooh.
And then I think it makes sense for us also to compare it to Dungeons & Dragons, just because we all have experience with Dungeons & Dragons, is that right? Yes. Quite a bit in some cases. And not that this game needs to be Dungeons & Dragons, but it's always nice because a lot of you, our viewers, will have experience with Dungeons & Dragons.
It's the baseline.
Yes, that's a good baseline. But first, let's just talk about the campaign try to not do spoilers, and just how you felt about the system not compared to Dark Heresy or Dungeons & Dragons, just how you felt it flowed overall as a game with the campaign that we did in particular. So how'd you guys like it?
I loved it.
Yeah?
Personally. Yeah.
I felt it had a really good flow. Once you read something once, you didn't have to keep checking it over and over again because it's a dice pool system. You're just remembering keywords.
Yeah, it's just that it's that streamlined kind of.
Yeah.
Once you learn it, you learn it. Right.
Yeah.
If you're curious, what he means by a dice pool system is that like games like D&D are a D20 system. So you roll a D20, you add some sort of modifier, and you have to get something. Dark Heresy is a percentile system, which means that you roll a D100, and you usually have to roll equal to or less than whatever number you had to do. So if you had to get 55 or less, it's a 55% chance. This one instead is a dice pool, so if you're making, let's say, a willpower test, and your willpower is 5, you'd roll 5d6. Every 4 plus counts as a success, every 6 counts as 2, and you're trying to get a certain number of successes. I noticed at first, if you've not been experienced with that kind of system, that was hard for me to look at and gauge. Is that hard? Is that easy? But with just a little bit of experience, you start to get, if I say make a difficulty 3 test and you only have 4 dice you get to roll, it's going to be hard. But if I say make a difficulty 3 test and you've got 7 or 8 dice, you're going to pass it. Most likely.
Sometimes.
You'd think so.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially. So keep going. I just wanted to point that out because some people might not actually know what the Wrath and Glory system is or what a dice pool system is.
I did feel that the weird class system that they have is a little restrictive, but other than that, I really do like the game a lot.
Do you think that's just a function of it being brand new and so there's not all the supplements out yet? Or do you think that it's more the way the classes work that's restrictive?
I think it's the restriction is that you have to buy into a class. Like, that's the big restriction. I feel like when more supplements come out and the classes are a little different, it won't feel like if you're playing an orc, you're forced to play a boy at tier 1, right? Yeah. So it won't feel like every orc is an orc boy. Maybe one orc is like they get forced to be a mech or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like every character you make is going to be very similar to the same type or the same character someone else is playing.
And
sorry, go ahead.
And to get away from that, you kind of like have to skew into your skills.
Yeah.
So you come out being, I do all the tech and the medical stuff, and I can't really do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a problem?
I didn't think it was for me personally, because we had a group that was so focused on combat, I didn't worry about it. If you had a group that kind of wanted to diversify a bit more, maybe, I'm not sure how that would play out.
Like the average group is 3 people and a DM. 3 people and a DM with this system might be a little difficult. Like, unless everyone's focused on combat, but then non-combat's really rough. And
you'd have trouble really hitting every mark.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends what kind of campaign you're doing, though, right? Yeah, because we had all sorts of types. When Fantasy Flight Games was doing the role-playing system, they had like 5 or 6. Death Watch, Dark Heresy, Only War,
right,
and Dark Crusade, all that kind of stuff. Rogue Trader. They all had the same basic D100 percentile system, but they each focused their rule set on a different aspect of the game. Dark Heresy focusing on investigation more than combat. Death Watch obviously focusing more on being the space marine. Rogue Trader on the interaction with your ship itself and the money that you make that way. only war, focusing on being a piddly little guardsman in a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Rolling up 5 of them.
Right.
One Hormigaunt versus your entire party.
Yeah, exactly. And so those ones, we have so many different games for the different aspects of 40K, and now Wrath and Glory is trying to combine those all into one.
Yeah.
Right.
So how realistic is it really to have a system that doesn't force you to skew into certain things?
Well, if the easiest way to play this would be you as a GM tell us as the players what we have to make, right?
Yeah.
It's like you are all playing,
Suggestions.
right? You are all playing a group of Space Marines. We're playing a Space Marine campaign. You're all Space Marines.
Right.
And that kind of goes into the framework part that they actually have written in the book.
Yeah, they do talk about that in the book.
Where the DM can have a lot more say in what's played.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's not so much a DM having to say, it's more like the group needing to come up with the framework and the concept. So it's not more like, we're doing Space Marines, guys, just deal with it. It's more like, what do we want to do? Now, once we decide what to do, everybody stay with us. Framework. Like, are we doing a Death Watch campaign?
Right.
Are we doing a Space Marine campaign? Are we doing an Orc campaign? Or we all want to play Orcs? And then one guy's like, well, I'm going to build an Eldar. It's like, well, that doesn't...
It defeats the purpose,
It
right?
can't make it work.
Yeah.
This first one that we did, I purposely chose a setting that would allow everybody to kind of play around.
Yeah.
That would allow Scum, an Eldar, Imperial Guardsmen, Inquisition, all these different things, all wrapped into one. Whereas I think the system would really shine too, now having played it, of focusing on just one. Everybody be part of the Inquisition. Everybody be Space Marine. Everybody be Orc.
I can't remember
Or Scum.
if the Fantasy Flight games had small variations in the rules, or are they all near identical with different focuses?
I think they were pretty near.
I think they were
Like the
You
same,
could-
like
you
the
could
same
kinda
special rules
easily
did the same
mesh
things.
them together.
Yeah.
The power
took a little bit of
rule
work,
is
but
exactly the
yeah,
same.
it was
something like
That's
that.
what I thought. Okay.
But they still focus on different things.
They
Like,
focus on
which was-
different things.
Which is like what the tables were, right?
Right.
Like I think Dark Heresy focused more on the corruption than the insanity.
Yeah.
Right. Where like say you're playing at home the old Fantasy Flight games, like, oh, we're going to do an Inquisitorial one, and then 2 months later you want to do a Death Watch one. It's not as easy transition as it would be in Wrath and Glory if the transition's super easy, right, for Wrath and Glory, because it's the exact same rules no matter what.
There's also the big question of simple versus complicated, right?
Yeah.
That you get games like 40K, Age of Sigmar, which are more on the simple end of the miniature war games, and then you get games like BattleTech, which, while the rule set's simple, just the depth that every mech, you're managing heat, you're managing the external, internal damage. Just it takes a long time just to have a 4-on-4 battle, whereas you can have a big game of 40K and a lot faster. So the question is, which one of those is better? And there is no answer to that, because even BattleTech came out with a second game called Alpha Strike that just let you play with more of them and less complicated. And so it's a hard thing to make one game that meets somewhere in the middle ground, that's simple enough to be all of them without losing what the differences are between them. So I think that's almost an impossible task.
Yeah.
To really do super well.
This is their best shot at doing something like that, and you can see a lot of similarities to the old games too in the resilience,
right?
Where it's kind of like the game's very all or nothing when it comes to combat. You either do nothing or you kill someone. Not you don't kill someone, but you cripple someone. Right.
Vito, any thoughts?
I really like the you go, I go aspect.
That speeds it up.
Love it.
Yeah.
That is
That
really
super
cool.
speeds it up.
Especially when
scary.
dealing, especially when dealing with mobs, or like multiple. Like if you have a unit of 10 guys, you can't do that quick enough in D&D.
Right. So like as a game master, dungeon master for you, like if you want to throw down 5 units of guys, you don't have to track initiative for 5 different units of guys.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've considered, I don't think I ever will, actually incorporating that into D&D. Because there's so many times when I just want to throw 3 kobolds into a fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, everybody roll initiative.
Poor kobolds.
All right.
Yeah.
Who got 20 or higher? Who got 15 or higher? Who got 10 or... Okay, fine. Now, okay, you killed the kobolds.
Yeah.
And so you end up just not throwing small encounters because you don't want to
100%.
waste all that time.
They're very
Whereas here,
superficial.
I'm like, you turn the corner and a guy shoots a gun. What do? Fire at him. Okay, he's dead. All right, we're done. Moving on. Or maybe you didn't kill him and you know, and then somebody else goes
And
and...
then the back and forth.
Yeah, you just do the back and forth.
That's one thing I really like. Like even when I'm doing DMing for D&D, and there's some kind of like a siege or something, I'll have to write a custom rule for doing, all the characters fighting large groups.
Right.
Whereas with this, there's a rule for that.
Mobs, yeah.
So
No, and it's
I
an
really
RPG,
like that.
so we don't have to expect it to be good at
Yeah.
doing large-scale combats, right?
But it's nice that it can.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, somebody said on here something about the mobs. Once you figured it out, they were too easy. How do you feel about that?
Well, it depends what weapon you bring. Like,
Yeah, so here it is. Romulus Rex. Mobs felt pretty weak. Players understood the rule set. Question mark at the end.
I think that was
Mobs are
more
supposed-
understanding our weaponry.
Yeah. And I think mobs are supposed to be weak.
I think that's the point, is that I can throw a bunch of guys. I was always throwing them in 10s, but they could be 5s, they could be 3s, they could be 20s.
Yeah, if you want tough mobs, you should put down 10 squads of 10, and then you have an issue.
That
Well, you
resolve
don't-
test can be brutal.
No, but that tough mob. That's,
defeats the purpose. Yeah,
that's
moron.
if you want something tough, you go for an elite.
Yeah.
Right? You have the mob, and then you have the elite guy.
The mobs are there to make it feel like an epic combat without it having being a headache.
and then it also distracts too. Like when we were fighting over here, it distracted me, and then all of this was going on as well.
Right, because they could easily become an issue if they charge us or
Absolutely, it split the party up.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, and how many times have... And this happens in video games all the time, too. One thing that I'm kind of waiting for technology to finally be able to have the good processing for. Like, you go and play a game like Skyrim, and you enter the epic city, and there's 30 people inside of it.
Yeah.
Maybe 50.
Ooh, Cyberpunk 2077 looks like it's doing a good job with that.
Yeah.
Big epic city, huge populations that are all individually... they have their own patterns and their own life and everything like that. It looks pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so but the thing is, when you play video game RPGs or these kind of RPGs, it's like we play Tomb Annihilation. I'm not going to say too much about that campaign for D&D, but we enter a mine full of kobolds, and they fought like a total of 30 or 40 kobolds, and that was like all the kobolds. And it's like, no, there would be thousands of them. Like think of Lord of the Rings when they go in the Mines of Moria and all those goblins coming out. Now picture a DM having to orchestrate that fight. It's just like, picture even doing that in a tabletop miniature war game would be trying to put down 1,000 miniatures on a table is just ridiculous. So it's nice that they give you a way. Like 10 models in D&D takes a lot longer than it does in here in Wrath and Glory. Now we're starting to talk comparisons, so maybe we should jump into that.
Comparisons.
So, who here has played Dark Heresy? Put up your hand if you played Dark Heresy.
I have not.
So everybody but Vito. So question for everybody but Vito. How do you like this system, or not like it, compared to Dark Heresy?
That's all... I can't remember the word. It's different person to person, right? Preference, yeah.
Yeah. So what's
So
yours?
what's your preference?
Yeah,
I'm asking you, what's yours?
Dark Heresy, because I like all the grindy. I love the charts.
You love the chart?
I love the charts. I love the grindy nature of it.
Hitting the arm. This much damage. This is
Right.
a critical. Go to this chart. Oh, this chart says to go to this chart.
Yeah.
Oh, now you need 45 days of recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're out for
You like that?
I did.
28
I did.
years.
Yeah.
Any game I play, any tabletop game, give me a war game that takes 4 hours, 6 hours to resolve one game. I love that. Give me a board game that takes 12 hours to play.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff I want to play. Yeah.
Well, everybody has to feel what they like, right?
I'm on the opposite side. I think Wrath and Glory
I love
is more
Rasmussen.
comfortable. It's a more comfortable game.
Yeah.
For the DM, for the players, for new players, old players, it's not going to matter. You don't want to be checking 26 different charts because you got shot in the pinky.
But it felt less.
Legal?
Oh no!
Oh, because
Wait.
illegal.
No. What? It felt less punishing in general with how damage worked, how easy it was to heal. But at the same time, like you actually got to play. In Dark Heresy, you get shot, you go down, and you can't do anything for the next 3 sessions.
Yeah, you might as well cook dinner for everyone.
What I did for a couple of sessions of Dark Heresy, I always forced groups of everyone controlled 3 or 4 characters that were always doing different things. So you always kind of cycle in and out characters, and you can't play your character till they're healed, kind of thing. And then people always enjoyed that.
That's a way to play it.
Right. And it still keeps that narrative for some guys. He's just out. Like you're yeah. So you make 2 characters or 3 if you really need to. I always found 2 was perfect. So you're essentially playing 2 separate parties, and any player can choose to swap out whatever they're doing, and they always have other things to deal with.
Right. So like one's off shopping while you're doing your combat.
Or-
he got hurt. So
or
he's recovering. Now the guy that
investigating.
shot. Yeah.
That
Or
just
he's
reinforces
investigating.
my liking of Wrath and Glory.
That's a cool. That's got its pros and cons. That's
Right.
really a neat idea that you can actually do all those things that are really annoying when you split the party. It's like, well, I'm going to go shopping. Well, I'm going to go investigate this. Well, I'm going to go ghost this person. I'm going to set up surveillance and sit here for 2 weeks looking across the street and see when the bad guy comes back. Like, you can't do that normally because that's all you're going to do. You're just going to sit there and do nothing, and that's boring. So I like that concept of creating 2 characters. Now, the con of that being is that now you have more than one character. You're less invested in either of them.
Yep.
it's
And
not
so
you
much more
anymore. It's
paperwork.
you.
It is more paperwork as well.
Well, you maybe if, people like creating characters usually, right?
And it goes down. It is even more grindy as well when you're managing 2 characters in a game that's already super charty and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
from the person who
Yeah.
says they enjoy a 12-hour board game,
Oh yeah, totally.
that actually makes sense. What about you, Josh?
I think I'm basically the same mindset as Luca. Like I really like Dark Heresy for how gritty it is and how punishing it is.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of been in the mindset where, you know what, if your character got shot and can't do anything, guess you shouldn't have got shot. Like it's, for me, that kind of creates that circumstance where you really kind of have to care about your character a lot more. You're not going to be making as many kind of silly risks and things like that.
Yeah.
When something heroic happens, it's super cool, but
Yeah.
the negative is really big. But I've never minded that.
It's one of those, you're in a situation in one of those games where you're behind cover and you're truly afraid to leave that cover.
It's the amount of tension I really enjoy with that. But I think speaking to Wrath and Glory, because I really like this system too, it depends on the group of players you're working with. So I wouldn't want to try Dark Heresy and like have a serious Dark Heresy campaign with a bunch of people I haven't gamed with before.
You need a super veteran.
No matter,
group.
we have to have played other RPGs together. We all have to go into it with the understanding this is punishing. This might be terrible.
Yeah.
You might not have fun, but it's what we're all signed up for. Which is the same for talking about board games.
Like Twilight Imperium. Or
Yeah,
something.
I'm not going to go and find a bunch of random people be like, hey, you want to play Twilight Imperium? You want to commit to 14 hours and
Goodness, no.
you might get knocked out in the first hour and
Yeah.
hate your life?
Yeah.
You know,
Lose to the guy piling money in the corner.
right. So I think Wrath and Glory, it's definitely a lot easier to pick up and play.
Oh,
So
100%.
that's the benefit, is that you can play this, I think, more casually. You can still play it super serious, but this is, I think, a little bit more accessible to a lot of different people. And the other talking point I was going to have, kind of comparing to other game systems as well, is just I like the combat in this a lot more, because I know I'm in a room full of D&D fans.
Mm-hmm.
I've said it, I think, 100 times. I really don't like the armor class system for D&D. I like the damage reduction, because for me it's a little bit easier, to kind of imagine what's going
Armor,
on when
right,
I'm
yeah.
getting shot because I'm easy to hit, but they're bouncing off because I got good armor.
Yeah.
When it's
The other way, it's
armor
melded
class,
together.
it's a little bit, I don't like that abstraction as much as I like this abstraction.
Yeah.
And I find the characters for this, there's a little bit more leeway to how you want to build, because even if we were doing a party full of Space Marines, you can have one that's a little bit more of a tech marine kind of feel. You can have, even without being a tech marine, you can have one that's a little bit sneakier. You can have one that's a little bit more the marksman, the close combat guy. While other game systems I've played, if I go and say, oh, you're a level 3 rogue, well, I probably know what your skill set and your stats are going to look like. You know what I mean? I think there's more variety in how you build characters here, instead of being shoehorned into certain kind of archetypes.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I find in games like D&D 2, a lot of people always want to play like the most powerful thing they can do as well, for whatever reason. Maybe that's more because it's more mainstream game, it's more out there. That always bothered me.
Well, I think it's a clearer path for how you build your character. Like when you're building, like I'll go back to, because I used to play a rogue for D&D.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be super sneaky, and I'm gonna, there's a very clear path of how I can make this a really powerful character.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna usually typically kind of feel like building into this.
And that always drove me. I don't know why people always did that. Like you can be creative, like Steve, because he always wants to make that one character who just throws knives out in the open. And I'm like, that's kind of a cool idea, right? Why not just do that? Why don't more people do stuff like that?
Yeah.
They can. The tools are there to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But they never do.
So the openness of character building here I kind of like, because I can't go into it and really think of how I'm going to skew it. I got to come up with a concept. I'm not going to go, how do I make the best Tempestus Scion?
I almost hope that they create a classless class for Wrath and Glory, where you're just choosing your race. You're human, and then you can branch out to however you want. That there's no restrictions. There's no.
And you just want to
Pick
have
a
the
race,
benefit of class.
Well,
tier.
they can give you kind of it could be like an a la carte option where there can still be something that you're getting, because obviously the person who chooses the class gets that, like your inquisitorial thing, which when you flash the badge, it's a +2 influence kind of thing. So there could be like a grab bag that you have to purchase, like you purchase that feature instead, or not at all. Like you just want to be a farmer who's on a backwater planet that is part of a chaos invasion, and you want to just make a group of nobodies, like in Blue Collar Heresy. See, we kind of did the classless system for Blue Collar Heresy, but we didn't at the same time, because we basically looked at the classes and I heavily modified them. But this one feels like you could actually build a classless system. and go from there. Whereas D&D, I know there are ways. I know people have modified it in the past to do classless systems, but it's not. The system itself is not designed to be that way. It's designed to skew into certain things.
I can't remember. Could troops in this game get the wrath effect, the critical effect against players, or no?
No.
I would have liked to see that. I don't think that would have been too hard.
Nor could they complicate.
Right. It's making them not complicated, just because I feel like the fact that it was pretty hard. Once we got good armor, like they just had auto guns, it was pretty much impossible for them to do a single lick of damage. They could maybe hit a shock every now and then, but giving them the ability to crit is something I would like to maybe see on that, or wrath, or get the wrath effect.
Yeah.
Or just like a straight critical effect.
Or you're right,
just
like
to keep it fast.
Like a basic troop critical effect. That'd be kind of cool too.
Well, I think Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say certain mobs are stronger than others too.
Yeah.
Like the cultist mob, they're like the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
Whereas like those 5 that I put together, I was using the Astra Militarum troop, and they have a rule that as soon as they make a combined attack, they get +2 damage.
Okay.
+2 extra dice damage. Sorry.
I guess we were playing pretty weak mobs.
And
against
so
we didn't get to see that.
Well, no, they did. They got to fire twice with their hot shot last guns. It was a mob firing hot shot last guns. And you can always sprinkle in a heavy weapon inside of a mob too, right? It could be a mob, and inside of there's a flamer, and inside of it there's a heavy bolter, and you can't kill the heavy bolter. You have to kill everything else.
Because everybody else picks it up.
Everybody else just picks it up, right?
Yeah.
So somebody asked me here, Warbuster, Matt, how do you feel from the games master's point of view? Do you enjoy the combat? I did. I really did. At the same time, there was one thing that bothered me that I kind of come to appreciate, or at least accept. And that's the resilience and defense system of Wrath and Glory. It feels off.
Yeah,
I think what it feels off about it is that defense feels kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But everybody ends up hitting. It's just more a matter of how many dice. My Outlook account settings are out of date. Yeah, there's a reason for that. Basically, it felt like that the first roll was just how many dice do you get to shift over.
Right.
It wasn't do you hit or not. Like how often did we miss?
If we did,
Like,
we'd wrath
Against him, maybe.
It was so uncommon that we'd always have wrath to reroll a miss.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And sometimes I would miss shooting at you, but it was more often that I wouldn't get your resilience. And so that system feels clunky. Like you're saying that you like this system better than the AC system, the armor class system of D&D.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with having the way the system works, but it just feels like defense is almost useless. Even if you can get it, because like a high defense is 4, grasp and cover is 5.
Yeah, because
even mobs are rolling 6 or 7 dice, and so it's not hard to get through that.
But we didn't really play around with interaction attacks or anything else like that.
A little bit.
I tried
We as a group kind of were like,
I'm gonna shoot my gun.
I'm not gonna do suppressive fire. I'm not gonna try to affect the mob or.
That's because you could just kill them.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot gun.
Yeah, we had the weaponry to just kill them right out.
And I felt like I had too few actions to have my elites do interaction attacks with you. It was always better for the elites to attack.
That's where I wonder that's what I was going to say before is, having your mobs do more of the interaction attacks to try to hinder us, and then having the elites.
So a big mob is yelling at you?
Or trying to, suppress us or whatever else it is. They've got their really garbage guns that aren't doing direct damage, but maybe they can keep our heads down and hinder us in some sort of way.
Sure, there might be some other stuff like that.
True.
So the other part of the defense and resilience system that was a little frustrating was just how much it skewed amongst the players. Like you have Abigail on the one side with defense or with resilience 6 and 6 wounds, and on the other side you have resilience 11 with 11 wounds, which and your basic weapons do 7 damage, maybe 8 or 9, and so that 7, 8, or 9 that's perfectly balanced for a resilience 6 player. They get hit, they're going to take a couple wounds. Then you get the other one who literally, at certain points, you're like, I'm just going to walk into that. Yeah. And so as a DM, or a GM in this case, because it's not D&D, I always... Right. It's trademarked. Anyways, as a games master, I always found it difficult. I'm like, okay, I got to challenge the group, but the moment I throw in something that can hurt Josh, that thing kills everything else. Yep. So I say all this, and as I discuss this with you guys over the weeks, I came to a conclusion that once again, it was me looking at the game and not fully understanding at the time what the game is meant to accomplish. If we've all played Space Marines, then you'd all be roughly the same resilience. There might be give or take 2 or 3, in which case, then we know what to take. But with a mixed group like this, when I designed this last encounter, which I'm not going to talk too much about because of the spoilers, I designed it knowing that an encounter should be more than just combat. And so I had other tasks at hand that the non-combat characters could complete.
That's me.
And even the combat characters could try to complete as well, like the ones like your character that could do both.
Yeah.
And the Psyker was able to do some non-combat interactions as well. I designed that. I'm like, okay, I think this is the strength of the system. When in a D&D combat encounter, you fight werewolves, and half of you don't have silver weapons or magic attacks. Then that half sits around and does nothing, right, Luca?
Right.
They just sit around and do nothing. Instead, it's like in here, I'm like, yeah, some of the people aren't going to be able to really dish out the damage to the warp entities or the other things that come out, but they can have another important role. And so I think that, once again, it comes down to the Wrath and Glory is such an open system that you got to be careful as a group not to create too skewed a group so that some people aren't just totally useless. And the GM needs to understand how it works, which I didn't at first, to kind of be like, oh, okay, so this is what I should do because I know there's a member of the party who's all book smart and not very street smart. Actually, you're a gang member, you're probably street smart too, but you know what I mean.
I can't shoot a gun.
Yeah, you can't shoot a gun to save your life, but you can defuse a bomb, you can hack into terminals. Like when you watch the James Bond or the Mission Impossibles, there's always the guy in the back clicking away at the computer while the other ones are out doing the combat. The guy clicking on the computer is rarely called upon to do any combat. Their important role is making sure the vents open before the guy falls through, or making the elevator work, or doing the whole hacking scene thing.
Pretty critical role.
Right, but in this, I feel like this allows that. So if I was to compare it to D&D, like I love D&D, but I love the initiative system here more than D&D's. I think that D&D's initiative system is too clunky and too slow. Period. I wish it was different altogether. Which I know, of course, you can just house rule, but I like keeping as much as I can true to the rules. I say that and I change stuff all the time, of course, but I still feel better about keeping this close to the rules. But yeah, I think if we were to do another Wrath and Glory campaign, I would probably want a more structured framework.
Yeah.
Like everybody's kind of from the same thing.
Yeah.
And that makes the games master's job way easier because all of a sudden they don't have to worry. Because if everybody's resilience 11, then I know auto guns aren't going to hurt anybody. And so we can just have the laughable fight where, you're just mowing through 50 guys. And then there's that one guy with the melta-gun at the end who's just like watching Arnold Schwarzenegger go through the movie Commando where just takes out 1 million guys. But once it's the boss, one shot from a pistol. Oh boy, that was his one weakness. Was a shot from a pistol, right? And
allergic to bullets.
Right, he's allergic to bullets, but not assault gun bullets.
Yeah,
the pistol bullet, of course.
Yeah, knife in Commando, knife on a mustache.
Right. Yeah, no matter how it starts, it ends with a close combat fight, right?
Yeah.
It's like, put your gun down. Okay, I'll put mine down. It's like, what? No, let's shoot him.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other thoughts before I kind of see if there's if you're watching this live, type in questions that you have, and I'll read them if you have any, or any comments that you have as well.
I know we didn't use them a lot, but were there actual other combat options like parry or suppressive fire or...
There was a defensive...
There's all-out attack, which gives you +2 dice on melee attacks. Nobody was really melee based. I thought that was interesting.
I wanted to try and go melee, but I'm like, maybe it's not great in this system.
My rogue trader was
the rogue trader more melee?
Yeah.
You got like called shot, which I think is useless. No, I don't think it's useless. I know it's useless. Well, because it's like you can take a +2 or +4 or +6 difficulty penalty to get +1, +2, or +3 extra dice.
Yeah.
But when you're taking a +2, that's one less die you can shift,
Yeah.
which is an extra die.
Yeah.
Now it's possible you don't roll 6s, you just roll 4s and 5s, but that should just be +2, +4, +6s, +1, +2, +3 damage. There was charging, but once again we didn't do melee very much.
Yeah.
Fall defense. You can add your initiative to your defense, but once again, defense is so low that I don't think that mattered. Salvo we did. Suppressive fire, sacrifice or reload to make an interaction attack using your Bliss's skill.
I'd like them to improve on those because I feel like they were so inconsequential. Right? No one did them. They were just easier just to eye attack.
And mow down guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kill as much as I can. There's like no worrying that much. I mean, obviously, if they do another edition, they can improve upon them. or they don't have to do a whole new edition. They can just release some sort of online document. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and combat doesn't usually have tons of options in any game, right? It's
Well, I'm
usually-
thinking of like back to Dark Heresy had a lot of options, right? Like you could, like if you had a sword, you could parry. You could like all your secondary combat options made a lot more sense. Or a lot more
you didn't
useful.
do a parry action though. You
Well,
just had
no.
the parry rule,
Right, there's that,
which
but there
allowed
was,
you to have extra.
yeah, but like all out attacks were much better in that. Defensive attacks were much better in that. Dodging was really good. All like more, it was rare for just to be like I attack. It was more like I all out attack. Or like
or
I'm gonna
rapid fire,
Right.
or yeah. Whereas this one, rapid fire just means you get more dice at close range.
That
It's
just
more
sounds like
akin
the
to
difference
40K.
between 7th edition and 8th edition.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to the older kind of grittier game to a more mainstream game.
Yeah.
Looking at full defense, it's sacrifice your turn to roll your initiative, and the result is add to your defense for the round.
Defense being kind of poo.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
if you're kind of building a more defensive character and you want to do
Yeah.
that, you know, sword fighty kind of, I'm going to keep you tied up in combat for a little while.
That's true.
Because you got up to, without trying that hard, to defense.
I got defense 4.
Four.
That's because it's literally your initiative -1.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah. I liked initiative too because it altered weapon skill, I believe, and I wanted to be close combat-y. Yeah.
Shandaith asks, it's probably been answered mostly already, but how do you guys rate the combat system for Dark Heresies? We have already talked about that. Okay, their quick recap is this is way simpler, flows way faster, but is also less gritty. So if you enjoy kind of the fast-paced but not as realistic, then this is there. Dark Heresy is much, I don't know if realistic is the right word, but
Pretty much.
it's
Yeah.
much more
Visceral.
much more
Yeah, it tells you everything that happens.
yeah, it's
like
much,
you get hit in the
it
heart.
takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
But also kind of gives you a sense of, yeah, I got shot in the arm, and because of that, I got this. Yeah, I got shot here, and then and it did this effect. Like it's
Yeah, because you could build for defense in this game, but like it was completely different before because it'd be like randomly you try and it was a D100 check. Do I hit? Yes or no? And then your degrees of success were pretty much like the extra dice shifting in this game.
but it was a much less chance of hitting to begin with. Usually
Yes.
like 40, 50, 60%.
Yes.
Here it feels like 80, 90.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought to kind of like reverse the D10s to see where you hit. I'm like, that was kind of a cool rule.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun.
Charger asks, what can we expect in the future in the Wrath and Glory publishers? Oh, I have no idea. I don't really.
More books.
I'm assuming.
Hopefully.
More
They have,
books.
as far as I can see, they haven't really talked about it much. I'm assuming. I think they've shared some stuff, but I assume there's going to be more supplements and more campaigns. At least that's what I would hope. Any good role-playing system, just what would you expect? More supplements that give you more races and classes, and more campaigns. Like that's what else do role-playing systems come up with?
Just books.
Just give you more stuff to do.
Unless they start doing their own model line, but
No, I doubt that.
yeah,
That would defeat the purpose.
Yeah.
Of, they even say that a regular guy should be on a 32 mil base,
yeah.
which pretty much is what 40K is now.
Yeah.
Chromulus Rex, do you think a longer game would work outside an Imperium setting?
Like a longer campaign outside of an Imperial setting, like Orc Boys.
Yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
Sure.
yeah.
Why not? Right?
I think it would be kind of fun to try. Like everybody play orcs. How and I real big emphasis on role playing because how would you do that without just infighting the entire
We're
time?
playing our own Gorka Morka warband.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Good other warbands we're going out against.
that'd be cool.
There is a lot of piloting and vehicle stuff we didn't even touch.
Yeah.
That is one other thing I wanted to touch on is so much can be done because the sim's so fast. You can do so much in a night. It really seems like you do like really good one shots with this.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I felt honestly, if I would compare it to D&D, I feel like you can get twice as much done
Oh yeah.
in one session.
And
as
it works a
D&D.
lot better with Theater of the Mind than D&D does.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, especially if you're already pretty well versed in the 40K kind of universe.
Yeah, Chromulus Rex, there's not a lot for Xenos, even Chaos. There's not a huge offering inside of this yet. It's definitely focused more on the Imperium. But it would be super easy for them
What tier is the knob?
to... The Nob is tier 2.
Is it tier 2?
Is it tier 2?
I think it's 3.
But either
Oh,
way,
maybe 3.
it would
Command
be...
is
It would,
tier 2.
with the way they've written the system, it would be super easy for them to come out with supplements for almost every race.
Oh yeah.
Like, barring things like Tyranids, obviously, where it's just all
Tech.
mindless beast kind of thing. But yeah, they could anything. This could easily incorporate Tau, Dark Eldar, all sorts of chaos, Necrons even. I could see it working with Necrons.
Now they have personalities.
Yeah,
It'd be a
no.
Death Mark team.
And yeah, even homebrewing would be pretty easy. Yeah, I like honestly you don't even have to give me a supplement for me to make other classes. What I want is more campaign books. And RPGs, any good RPG will have a lot more lore in their books. This is kind of lore light right now. They definitely need more supplements for that. I realize all the lore is in the other books, but I mean lore that like the one thing I loved about Dark Heresy is it expanded on the lore that you had in there because it could go to the things like these warp entities that you fought, those creatures that came out. I didn't like they're not anything from the lore because there's a billion other warp entities in the warp that nobody talks about because we only scratch the surface of what's going on. It's an entire galaxy, for goodness sakes. There's going to be all sorts of species, all sorts of events that happen, all sorts of other warp entities. It's an entire universe to explore. And RPG's job is to go deep where a tabletop game cannot go because it's not powerful enough to attract anybody to want to play them, or it's just too deep that it's like I can't make an entire faction out of this, so why even bother? Like you look at things like the Kroot and the Vespids for Tau, it's like they just scratch the surface. There's an entire society of Kroot, an entire society of Vespids, and yet we get one unit of each essentially inside of the war. But in an RPG, they could totally write an entire section on just Kroot and really expand on their culture and allow you to play them much more deep, which is what an RPG should do.
I want a Zotes campaign now.
Zotes.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered a lot.
Yes.
I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this live, then when it goes live on YouTube, make sure you go post your comments. Thank you so much for joining us for this. Thank you so much for supporting us in all of this. Stay tuned for more role-playing game shows from us and more reviews of them as well. Thanks for watching. Happy role-playing.